We are live. Good morning. We're
Good
here.
morning.
Yeah, loving that. It's just a couple minutes after where we're going to start, but hey, technology is amazing, right?
Yep.
So hey, good morning, Keeley. I am Glenda White here, the mortgage coach DFW, out of my NXC office. So it's super cool. Lighting's amazing here. And today, Keeley and I just wanted to have a quick conversation talking about service over sales, the mentality we have to have for today's real estate agents, and really how the growth opportunity is. So, Keeley, why don't we take a minute to just introduce you and why did you move from teaching into real estate?
Okay. Well, hi, I'm Keeley Mclarty, and I'm with Coldwell Banker DFW in Fort Worth. And then I'm also licensed in Colorado, which is where I am right now. And I'm with Coldwell Banker Distinctive Properties out of Durango. Um, what was the question? Oh, yeah. Why did I get out of teaching? Well, I mean, it was just too hard. It was the hours I was teaching and coaching, and it was a grind and a beat down. And I mean, it just got to be where I needed to be at home with our youngest kid,
Yeah.
kind of wasn't supervised so much. And just, I was spending all my time with other people's kids,
Yeah.
after
Right.
hours. And so, it made sense. And then also just I mean, honestly, just to make some money, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
because
So
we
do you
don't pay
feel what
teachers
you
enough.
had in your teaching environment is really kind of helped you kind of catapult into real estate because all of the daily struggles and the daily opportunities and just the rigmarole, right, of teaching, do you think that's going to help for your real estate industry and just converting over?
Absolutely. I mean, because I it blows my mind how when agents, because I had been in teaching for 15 years, and so coming into the private sector and hearing people complain about paperwork and all this, and it's just like compared to what teachers have to do, the paperwork in real estate is nothing,
Yeah.
and there's the possibility of money attached to it, right? So it's like, hey, I'll fill out papers all day long,
Hmm.
and then just you know having to deal with or having the chance to get to know so many different types of people in education, from different socioeconomic statuses and backgrounds. Just that's really helpful. And then also being able to educate through the home buying process because it's complicated,
Yeah.
and there's so much that people don't know. And they
Mhm.
hear, from their crazy Uncle Larry or Mima and Papa, and things are different, right? And so then when a lot of people's, you know, the people that they take advice from, when those guys bought houses, things are way different now. So it really helps, I think, to have had that education background to be able to kind of explain the process and move things along. And then I coached also. So, you meet your clients kind of where they are, and everybody's in coaching terms, everybody's at a different skill level or,
Right.
have different strengths and weaknesses, and you find what works for them and help them be successful.
Mhm. So do you feel, being the real estate industry, how do you shift your mindset from a sales mentality to the service mentality?
I think it was actually harder for me to try to shift into a sales mentality
Okay.
coming from service. And so
Yeah.
kind of because the kind of philosophy of always be closing and all these scripts and all that stuff that you learn when you're a brand new agent felt so foreign and fake to me and disingenuous and kind of desperate, right? And
Right.
that didn't really work well for my personality. So when things have kind of shifted, I think, towards this um, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Anyway, something on, I can't think of the right word, but this this shift towards service makes more sense to
Right.
me and fits my persona more than being like the hey big fella, hey chief, and trying to dominate conversations and talk people into things that they don't want. It's just that's not me, and that didn't
Yeah.
work for me.
Yeah.
So it was actually more difficult to try to
flip
be
your
this.
mentality to go to sales.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know. I don't think I can. I don't know if I can do this,
No.
because, and people feel that too. Like when you're pushing and trying to dominate a conversation or steer somebody a certain way, people feel that, they know. And then they're
Yeah.
like, oh, hey, no, I don't want that, so.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you define service over sales in the context of being a real estate agent? Because how do we apply it's kind of like that notion, right? Because it is a sales environment, but how do you really define it in a context of a real estate agent to push them and not be so salesy and be more servicey?
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes to fiduciary duties for me,
And we've
right?
talked about that a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
that is a big word, and you're a very big proponent of a fiduciary duty, and I think that that's
yeah. And I think that helps people when I don't know that all agents explain all that to their clients, but I think it helps put people at ease that, like, hey, you're the boss. I work for you, and
Yeah.
I owe you these duties by law, And the big ones for me are loyalty, confidentiality, and obedience. I mean, the other ones are important too, but like once you explain to somebody like, hey, I am required to put your best interests at heart above mine, even if that means a reduction in my commission, whatever, and that's how you get people to come back to you, I think, versus like just having to just hammer out a whole bunch of transactions and just always be searching, always be closing, always be looking for that next, almost kind of like victim, right? And so that's how you develop relationships, and people come back to you because they're like, okay, he's got my back, and also just to be able to say to somebody, I'll give you my advice. I don't give advice unless I'm asked, because I'm not a dominate and manipulate kind of agent. And I think that's kind of an old school. There are agents like that who they're like, you have to dominate your client, and it's just that doesn't make sense to me. I'm a kind of a cooperate type guy, and be patient, And I always tell people, I'm ready when you are. If I'll give you my advice if you ask for it, but I'm here to present you the options as I see them, and just let you kind of decide and answer questions and all that. So, but the main thing is that I work for you.
Yeah. And that's huge. And that's, I think, that again, the kind of missing talent is when we flip the script and say we're working for the client instead of the client working for us, it kind of does seem less salesy, and more, service over there. So what would you say is one of your biggest challenges when moving from the sales prioritizing, and how do you overcome that mentality of being so salesy? Like, what's a challenge that you face on that?
I guess the challenge is just that doesn't fit my personality style, So when I try to do that, it's like I'm one of those prisoner of war hostages that talks in the monotone voice, and what I mean. They're trained to like talk like a robot, and it just doesn't feel right, and it comes off that way, So I mean that's the biggest challenge. So it's easier for me just to be straight up. And, not everybody likes me. Some people like more boom, 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 super, super organized plan, blah, blah, blah. And that's not how I roll, And there's plenty of people out there that don't want that. There's plenty of people that do. And that's, it's, you find your tribe, right? And you find the people that like to work with you and build trust and relationships over time. So the biggest thing I think is being patient and just and time.
Yeah, patience and time. And that's something that in a world that is so busy, full of noise, how do we clear that time? How do we clear that white noise of the time and the boundaries of, I just think of it, the leverage of calling and texting and emailing at 10 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning. So what are some of your specific strategies that you use to deploy to ensure your clients' needs are taken care of? Like, what's that one plus that you do to ensure your clients' needs are taken care of on the service side and not on the sales side?
I just kind of froze while you were asking me that question. Can you repeat it?
Yeah. So what is a specific strategy that you may have today that kind of deploys the service over sales? How do you keep them engaged, but how, like, what is one kind of tactic? Do you send birthday notifications? Like, what's your one thing that really satisfaction takes the precedence over anything?
I think that it's asking questions,
Yeah.
shutting up and listening to answers, right? And then respecting that. If somebody says, "Hey, I'm not ready now. Call me in 3 months." I'm
Hmm.
like, "Oh, I'm not going to call them 12 times." I know there are certain people that say you have to have 12 touches and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Respect what they tell you, and I think that that's how you slowly build trust over time. But the big
Yeah.
thing is meet people where they are in the
Right.
process, and you never know where somebody is, right? In the process. Sometimes you get somebody that comes in and says, "Hey, I'm ready to buy right now. Let's go." And that's happened to me before. And I had clients that I met at an open house that I think they were military, and they were transferring from um, Newport News.
Okay.
And they said, "We have 10 days to buy a house," or they wanted to lease first. And so I showed them a leased property that I had listed. And they're like, "We have 10 days." They didn't, we looked at leases, and they didn't like what they saw, and the rents were too high and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, "Okay, let's go." And I cleared my calendar and we did it,
And you met them where they wanted to be met. Like, you had to
Yeah.
adjust. And that's hard, right? Because the conversations that we still hear in the narrative that we hear today is agents and lenders just open doors. Like, we're just here to open doors, and we're not following a strategy of, all right, if we're going to do this, like, there's a time crunch that we have to do it because there's fiduciary duty and there's a contract that we have to uphold to make this happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in a competitive market that we're in right now, because business is slower for a lot of people, how do you strike a balance between providing that exceptional customer service, but also achieving your business goals that you want to do? Because sometimes, if you don't have a lot of business, or if you're providing exceptional customer service, maybe your business isn't where you want it to do. So, how do you keep that fine line and that balance between the two?
Right. And that's tough. It's hard, right? So that's my problem. That's not something that I can put off on my clients or prospects. So
Mhm.
really what I do is just try to continue, moving forward, kind of in the cycle with whoever I've got in my pipeline, and just, lean on people for support, and I happen to be married to a brilliant therapist. So that
Like,
helps
we all need
a
therapy.
lot. Yeah. She's I think I'm her lifetime project. So, it's just, that's not something that I can put off on. Like, my needs aren't something that I can put off on clients and
Mhm.
prospects. That's something
Okay.
that I have to deal with internally. So
Yeah.
just kind of continuing, because they feel when you're desperate and you're pushing.
Mhm.
And I've
Yeah.
been in situations like that before. I've only been doing this 5 years,
Mhm.
so I'm still relatively new. Because you've been in the mortgage business for
Oh,
20
wait,
some years. Yeah.
15.
So, there have been moments where I'm like, push, 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 push. And that's where the sale of the scripts come out. And it's just, that doesn't work for me,
Yeah.
So, I just kind of have to be patient, have faith in the process, you
Mhm.
know, um, working with people like you has been a huge help, just to know, like, reading what to read for mindset and
Right.
things like that. So really that's my internal personal struggle, and my clients shouldn't have to deal with that.
Yeah. So, if a newer agent is getting into the business now, what's the one thing you can guide them whenever it does come from service over sales?
I would say, um, a new agent guide them. So I would say, provide information that's useful to your clients. Get on social media as soon as possible. I've been so hesitant about that. Really, this is just the past year that I'm trying to do it, and just
Mhm.
provide content, information, and serve,
Yeah.
and you and let people come to you. find your people and let them contact you.
And that's amazing. And look, everything that you've talked about today, it's all about, it is mindset, it's your heart, it's how you feel. Not everybody's going to be a good fit for everybody, but
Right.
just, I think, taking it day by day, because people are going to struggle in a time right now. So is there anything that we kind of left out that you would want to leave to the next agent that maybe is struggling to flip that script and a mindset of service over sales?
I would say find one or two, kind of, I don't know if you would call them self-help books or philosophy, whatever. What do you call them? Mindset or leadership type
And I got
things.
plenty of those.
You have so many of those, I know. And I mean, for me, it would all be about mindset. And my default goes negative,
Mm-hmm.
and I did this, and this one's super old school and it sounds corny and cheesy and it's outdated. And it was The Greatest Salesman in the World, that Augmentino one, like from 1970 or something.
Right.
But the repetitive nature of doing that 3 times a day for a month at a time, each of those principles really helped me focus, and it wouldn't have to be that book necessarily, but just something where you're setting aside time, when you wake up, after lunch, before you go to bed, to do these things to help your mindset, and that's what, and it took me a long time to get to something like that. And they're corny and they're cheesy and all that stuff, but they work, man. They work, and it's that repetition. And for me, that comes like, that's from coaching tennis. It's like, you got to hit balls. You just got to,
like Michael Jordan. Pounding the Stone is a great book, by the way. If you haven't heard it and read it, Pound the Stone is an amazing read.
I haven't, and I'm going to write that down right now.
There you go. And it's kind of like the whole Michael Jordan effect of, you go out every single day, but just at the time that you think that you're going to give up, that next person comes. It's like social media is when you do 20 videos, but nothing happens. But on 21, you get leads from it and conversations from there. It's just like the calls, the 12 touches. So like, that is a great read. And we'll put it down below, but Pound the Stone is an amazing, and I never thought I would do it and read it, but it's an amazing read for sure.
Pound the Stone. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to get that. And then the other thing is, like, I taught Spanish, and so what I'm able to draw on from teaching and coaching is, like, now I have to do what I was always telling my kids to do, like, hey, hitting a tennis ball is weird. It's not normal. It's not natural. It's a weird skill set. So you're gonna suck at it for a while, but keep going. And same with speaking Spanish. If you're a non-native speaker, right? But if you've got a tongue and a brain, you can do it, but it's, you gotta be comfortable being uncomfortable and not quit. And so it's like, you turned me onto that book, Atomic Habits.
Great book.
And it's those micro steps every single day, and just little tiny improvements that accumulate and build over time,
Oh my gosh. And all of this is so phenomenal. So Keeley, if someone wants to get a hold of you to have some kind of conversations, like, how do they find you and where do they find you?
You can go to KeeleyMclarty.com. My name's hard to spell. I mean, so that's, it's unusual, but I'll spell it Keel. Well, it's up there, right on the thingy. Okay. So just that's my, my Fort Worth, my Texas website. But then on Instagram's the social media platform that I use the most. And it's just Keeley Mclarty. There's only one of me. There's only one of me in the whole world.
McClarty. And
that's right.
Let's talk about fiduciary duties, and that's a big mindset. So, hey, Keeley, I really appreciate you coming on today. And if you are that one agent that is struggling with mindset, with how to figure out service over sales, and how to just go that next step, that's what we're here for. We'll drop a link down below. You can get on our calendar to just have that conversation and see where we could help you move that needle in your business. And if you're a client looking for someone that needs help, Keeley is definitely your go-to person for that. So Keeley, I appreciate you being on today.
Thank
And
you
of
so
course,
much.
this is the Epic Podcast where we're talking about extraordinary practices with innovative concepts. And I am your host, Glenda White, the mortgage coach, DFW, here with NXT. And until next time, y'all go make it amazing.
Adios.